Hi, y'all. It's Bridget Cutshaw with Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Katrine Horn, and she is a life coach, and she's based in Toulouse, France. Can you introduce yourself, Katrine?
Yes, I'd love to. Well, thank you very much for having me, Bridget. I'm just thrilled to be talking to you all. I'm Katrina, as Bridget just told you, and I live in the south of France. And I came to live here, not really by choice, but as part of a chain of events that seem to have guided me to where I am now. And I am thoroughly enjoying it.
I bet you have. You and I spoke previously, and I have French background. My mother's French. So, what prompted you to move to France? I'm just curious.
Great question. Yeah, because
I love it. I love it there.
well, life is so good here. So, yes, you're right. But I didn't know about that. I just went when I was very, very little. I wanted to play the harp, like the big stringy instrument that, fairies play or angels play. And
Oh,
I
wow.
wanted to play that. And so I was born in Denmark, which is in the north of Europe. And to be able to go to music college, I had to move to London, which is in the UK. So I immigrated when I was quite young, and I played the harp in London. But then the harp has been sort of a leading thread in my life. And she took me on to Paris to go to music college in Paris. So that is really why I ended up, well, I'm not dead yet, but for the moment, I'm still in France.
I love that music brought you there, right? Do you still play the harp now, or
No, I don't actually, because
big
I became a
instrument?
life coach.
Right, and it's also a very large instrument, so it's kind of probably takes up a lot of space. So, what prompted you to become a life coach? I know it's really important. We are dealing with a lot of stress now, right? We're always dealing with stress, but it seems to be more chronic because of this COVID situation.
Totally, yes. And I think we beat ourselves up for being stressed out and for feeling all this anxiety.
Right.
And maybe we can talk about that, because I
Yes.
really think that we shouldn't try to fix our anxiety, but that's not really answering your question. I became a life coach because I saw a lot of people suffering. And I have got a few tools, and I've learned a lot more, obviously, along the way, of how you can end the suffering. So you can't end the pain. You can't prevent bad things from happening. You can't prevent people from dying. You can't prevent people from sacking you. You can't prevent people from divorcing you, right?
Right.
But what you can do is to design your thinking around it, and that takes away the suffering. So I noticed I used to teach English in what is like middle school here in France, and I thought, oh, there's so many students who are suffering here. And then I met their parents, and I thought, wow, I mean, so much suffering going on in the world. Let us do something about it. And that is really why I started this whole journey of becoming a life coach. And I'm so happy you asked me that, Bridget, because nobody ever asked me that. And this is really my big why. When we start our businesses, when we think about how we can help the world and everything, we need a why. Why are we do it? If we
Right.
know why we're doing it, then we're so much more likely to enjoy it, right? So my big why is I want to help all those parents I used to meet up with when I was a teacher. I want them to become happy so that they can be at the head of happy families. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, and that's there. I think what's going on now, at least in the United States, they are very stressed. The parents are because of this sudden change, and nobody knows how school's going to have to be implemented in the future. And I don't know how it is in France, but these people are having to work and help with their kids in school, and right, and you got to try to keep it together. And I'm a mom myself, but my kids are adults, so I'm not having to deal with that type of stress. And I think it's important. I think that's a big group of people that need help right now are the parents. I think that
Totally, totally. And I think we're putting too much responsibility on them. I was just talking to my neighbor because she's a grandmother, and she has been looking after her grandchildren, and they were being homeschooled for a while in the spring.
wow.
And she had 3 little kids at home having to teach them. I mean, she was available for them, but what do you do when you're not a teacher and you've got all this homeschooling to do and the kids just don't seem to be getting it? You haven't got any tools for helping them. You haven't got any sort of training to help people understand problems and help them learn, do you? And I think we just dumped all that on
Yes.
parents, and we make them feel bad if they're not succeeding. And who can succeed? I was talking to a client in Paris. She's sitting in a loft on the 6th floor in Paris, and it's pretty hot there, right?
Right.
And in her loft, she's being expected to work from home full-time with a 4-year-old daughter. I mean, how is that going to happen? Tell me.
Right. It's very, you know, I just can't imagine it. Like I said, mine are adults. I talked to a woman the other day. She has a 3-year-old and she's can't put him in preschool. That's usually when you help learning, getting around other kids, and that's been taken away from them. And so we're all having to learn to adjust and adapt to this. It's life changing, right? But I like to think it's going to be good in the long run, but we need more people like you to help us get through this. Is that right? And another thing you and I talked about is about how we need to collaborate, right? Isn't that something else we need to be doing rather than just competing all the time? And I think this is a moment where it's important to collaborate.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yes, it's because when we talked last time, Bridget, we talked about this feminine toolbox that
Yes.
I prefer using, because we have been taught to learn the masculine and use the masculine, what I call toolbox, which is about achieving, it's about spreading, and I don't think that really speaks to women, because competition, I mean, we don't really enjoy competition. Maybe we think we do because we've been told, oh, you have to compete, you have to
Right.
prove you're the best. But I don't think we derive any pleasure out of it. And I think our pleasure, women's pleasure, and I suspect a lot of men's pleasures too, come from collaborating. And I think that as women, what we really enjoy is to be with like-minded people and to have a team effort and to feel that we are supported all around us, that we are not alone, that we are part of something bigger. And that is really when we get to do our best. And at the moment, it's really
Cutting out.
feel.
Right. Can you say it again? Sorry, you kind of cut out there. Sorry.
Did I? I'm sorry. I feel that with COVID going on, some of us are isolated at home.
Yes.
And it's really difficult for us to feel that we are in a collaborative effort, that we are being supported, that we have got a network, and that we are making a sustained collaborative effort in this.
And I think that's probably why Zoom has become so popular, because so we can see other people's faces. And to me, email doesn't just do it, or texting, or just seeing someone's face is so helpful. And I think that helps with connecting, right? Connecting with others. And I've learned a lot, and that's why I'm enjoying doing the podcast. I get to connect with other people and learn from, their perspective. I think it's so important because I don't know everything, right? And nope, we're just learning from each other. And I think that is so important. And another thing, you mentioned the femininity and the self-care aspect. Why do you think we or women in general don't take care of themselves as much? Because I guess we just want to focus on other people to make sure they're okay, but we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah, well, it's okay to take care of other people, isn't it? It's
Yes.
perfectly normal to want to take care of your children, your family, your friends. I mean, that is very, very normal. Only with our busy lifestyles, we forget to take care of ourselves.
Right.
And the message we're sending ourselves is that other people are worth the care we invest in them. But as we never get to invest any care in ourselves, we start feeling as if, which is absurd, as if we were worth less.
Right. That is a really good point. Yes.
I believe that.
No, I'll let you talk. Sorry.
I believe that self-love is a decision we make. So we decide to love ourselves, but to support that self-love, to really feel it, we need to have some very exquisite self-care in place that will reinforce that feeling. And so instead of waiting till everything else is done, instead of waiting till everybody else's needs have been taken care of, we can actually feel that we can take care of ourselves without justifying it. Because we women are very, very good at taking care of ourselves when we justify, right? So say, I've been working 24/7, right? Now I want to take a bath. Whereas what I like to do with my clients is that they say, I'll just have a bath now because I want to have a bath. I want to soak in my tub. I want some lovely bath salts. I want to enjoy that moment because I'm worth it. I don't need to have worked myself to the bone to
Right.
get to the place where I deserve it. I deserve it right now without moving my little finger.
And it's so simple, like you said, just take a bath, just to be alone for 15, 20 minutes. Really, that's really all it is. And those are my favorite things to do too, by the way. I have bubbles. I like bubble baths. But it is important. And I've realized that as I've gotten older, right, that I did neglect myself sometimes because I was always so focused on my kids or focused on my job or focused on, I have pets, things like that. But now after the few health scares I've had, I'm like, you got to take care of yourself, because how can I take care of everybody else, right? If Bridget is not feeling good, or, it just helps. And it's just a good role model, I think, to have your children to do
Exactly.
that. Yes.
I love that you say that role model, because children don't learn from what we tell them. They learn from who we are, what we do, right? That they model themselves on
Yeah.
us. So if we are functioning in this sacrifice mode,
Yes.
where we believe that we have to take care of the whole world before we can get to ourselves, well, that is what our children will pick up on, especially girls who identify with their mothers. So they grow up thinking, oh, I have to sacrifice myself for other people. And well, that is not really the way, the straight road to happiness, is it? It's
No.
much better to model something much more moderate to your children, even if it's difficult to teach them sometimes that, well, mummy needs a bath too. Mummy needs some time on her
Right.
own.
I remember when my kids were little, though, I did make bath time, bubble bath time. I mean, I went for them, for them to see how it was relaxing and having fun. And when I do it, I was, by myself. But but yeah, it's so important. It's the actions, like you've heard that term, actions speak louder than words. I think that's part of it, of what's going on now. We just need to, I don't know, just take care of ourselves. It's so critical. I was also looking at your site, and you have multiple courses. Are most of those online, or do you have to do any? I was just curious because they look really intriguing to me.
Yeah, well, they're not meant to be intriguing. They're meant to be very, very helpful.
Well, I
So
meant,
they're all
I want you to click
online.
on it. That's what I meant by intrigue. I wanted to click on it. How's that?
Yeah, I got you. I just wanted to yeah, have a wordplay. But I mean, they are online and they're available all the time. So they're really meant to. I've got a self-love activation. Your step for self-care. It's
Right,
getting you to the place where you know that you are priceless, where you
right.
know that you can love yourself unconditionally. In fact, it is so much more helpful to the world, even with COVID, that you love yourself unconditionally, so that you can be so much more in the world.
Right, and we can all make a difference. And I also think it starts local, or in the small steps is better. I see some people try to make huge impacts. Starting from the top down is not helpful. Bottom up, right? You got to take care of yourself, and that's kind of how I see it. And then it flows to other people, and you just
But
got.
the more people we are who are happy, fulfilled,
Yes.
joyful, and loving, I mean, the better the world is going to be, isn't it?
it is. And I think it, like, in the long run, it will be. And we don't know how much longer this is going to last, this COVID stuff. And I'm a firm believer that to be respectful to whatever your belief is about it. And I think that's sometimes missing. And I think we have to be careful um, on how we react or respond to certain things. And is to be, that's how I was raised, to be polite with your response to things. And
Be polite and be respectful of other people's opinions.
yes, and that's why I'm just nodding my head, and and I believe you should do what makes you happy, right? But then to not harm other people at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense.
Obviously, but right at the beginning of our conversation, we spoke about this anxiety. And
Yes,
if
I
you
think
don't
it's,
mind,
yeah, go back to anxiety. Yes.
yes, because this is perhaps what people are struggling the most with at the moment. So, depending on where you are in the world, we've got different worries, different sources of worry at the moment, haven't we? So,
Mhm.
whether it's COVID or it's climate change or it's natural disasters or whether it's Brexit or whatever. So, depending on where we are in the world, there's a lot of sources of anxiety. And I think it's normal to feel anxious with all these things going on, right? So lots of us believe that, oh, I have to fix my anxiety, I have to make it go away. But anxiety is really just fear. So I think if you're in the middle of a forest fire, I think it's quite good to be fearful,
Scared.
right?
Yes.
I think it wouldn't be normal if you weren't, right? The same if sad events are happening around you, well, it's rather reassuring that people are sad. We want to be sad when sad things happen around us. So instead of trying to fix it, I suggest just allow them to exist, right? To feel them in our bodies, to feel where it is that sadness is, perhaps identify exactly what it is that we are afraid of or that we are anxious about. So if we identify it and just tell ourselves, you're right here, it's pretty fearful, it's pretty sad, whatever it is, just allow that to exist
Right.
and just feel calm coming in from that, because it's okay to feel
It's
sad.
kind of
It's
like,
okay to,
yeah, acknowledging it, because when you suppress something, that can make other issues crop up, right? Just acknowledge it too, at a minimum.
acknowledging it and not wanting it to go away,
Uh-huh.
letting it leave you,
Right.
right? But it can't leave you before you have acknowledged it, as you
Correct.
say. So you need to be with your fear for a little while. And the good thing about fear, about anxiety, about any feeling is that if you're with it, if you stay with it, it can't last more than a minute and a half.
Wow. Okay.
Isn't that brilliant news?
It
Because
is.
if you sit down and you try to feel angry, you will find that if you stay with that anger, it will evaporate in less than a minute and a
Goes
half.
away. Yeah. It kind of, it does go away. So what do you recommend? Like you said, to just be still and let it go away. Do you recommend like to like meditate or just stand or deep breathe? I do deep breathing. I try to when I get mad about something.
Yeah, I think lots of us have difficulties with meditation because we
Yes.
just don't, we're not able to just sit down and switch off our brains. We find that really, really challenging. So
Yes.
if you as a person find that really, really challenging, I just wouldn't go there, right? Because what's the point? So unless you are into meditation, and I totally am, what you could do is just sit down with a cup of tea, with a cup of coffee, and just feel into your body, and as you say, breathe in,
Yes.
breathe out.
I love deep breathing.
Yeah, without wanting to control anything, right? Without wanting to control your mind. You can't control your mind. It's like uncontrollable anyway. So every time you try to control it, you're going to be faced with failure. So there's no point. Just leave it be. Just let it sort of have all its thoughts and everything. Just feel into your body all the time. Feel whether it is a knot. Perhaps you've got a knot in the stomach. Perhaps you've got something buzzing in your head. Feel it and just be with it, right? And then let all the thoughts be there.
Right.
I mean, if you don't attach to them, they'll just go away again, right? So the dentist appointment will come across, or walking my dog will come across, phoning my mother will come across. Just let it be.
Right.
Don't control it. Just let yourself breathe, really.
It definitely helps you pause. It helps you pause and respond differently, possibly too, if you're in a, you know what I'm saying? Just like you said, let it go. We can't just get upset about every single thing. And that's one of the reasons why I don't watch the news. And I don't, there's no reason to. And because a lot of it is just people talking with their opinion. And I just want to, one of the things that helped me a lot is I walk outside a lot in the woods. I'm lucky that I live near, nature. And that's one of the reasons why I did it, because I knew I needed that. And sometimes I'll go take a break. Something's bugging me. I'll go walk outside with my dog or something. But we all find what helps us. Right. And we just got to recognize that, just try different things. Right. And that's probably what your little course is about, to point that out, what you can do.
Exactly. It's not just pointing out what you can do,
Right.
to start feeling really valuable and lovable as you are, without losing the 50 pounds, without getting the degree, without having a swimming pool and all that. How you can feel good about yourself right now. There's lots of suggestions, but it's really about finding out what pleases you.
Right.
So we make like a library of joyful moments, so that you can always access. Yeah, you can always access joy at some point. So you could be in a traffic jam and you can be getting really stressed out about it. When you've got your library of joyful moments, you can just pull one out, right? You've got them all there, and you can feel into that. And instead of feeling the stress, then you'll be feeling the joy. So your library could be, let's say you walk your dogs outside in the forest. So it could really just be a stone you picked up in the forest that will transport you back.
Yes.
Where you found it. Or it could be a photo of one of your sons. It could be your favorite dress. It could be anything really, but that will connect you in an instant to your joy.
I think that is really, really helpful advice. It is just to that's why memories or experiences I think are important too, and not things. That's why even though this is called Real Things Living, it's trying to point out it's about experiences and living life that's important to you. Is that the right word? It follows your values. I think that's important. And I think when we're younger, you don't really know what they are. Sometimes you're not clear on it, but it does help as you age. And another question I have for you, I know a lot of your clients, are they over 50, or is it one of your courses that I read?
Yeah, I'm designing a course for women after 50 who still want to feel vibrant, beautiful, sexy, and relevant after 50, because I'm 53.
Right.
And I noticed that lots of people, well, they start feeling not very good about themselves after 50. And I think there's so much we can do about that. And again, it's not about changing anything about yourself. It's about what you've already got.
Right, accept what you have. And that's something we have in common. I'm 55, which is hard to believe, but I don't feel it. You know what I'm saying? And I think it has a lot to do with your attitude and what I'm doing in life. And I believe in moving. And you're sure there's some days that you just are stressful, but like you mentioned, stress is common. It's normal. It's just on how you try to handle it and deal with it. And I think this is really helpful, what you're talking about, because
it's because I'm living in France, as you mentioned right at the beginning, and I've seen that French women They don't get fat from eating croissants, right?
Right.
They don't think that makeup is for special occasions. They
Right.
don't change their high heels for Uggs. They stay feminine, dialed into their sexuality, vibrant and relevant, like to the end of their days, because that is how it was meant to be, I think.
Right. And a lot, like you said, I think culture does have a lot to do with what's going on here. And again, it kind of shoots back to when we talked earlier, competition. People focus too much on that and being
But
number
just
one.
think about women our age.
Yeah.
Like, we're always comparing ourselves to younger women, and we're comparing ourselves in a game that we're going to lose because we've got more wrinkles than they've got. We've
Yes.
got perhaps not the same firm skin. We are different. So why do we want to compare ourselves to an impossible ideal? We're no
Right.
longer 25, right? We can't look, it would look silly if we still look 25, right? So why do we do that? Well, it's because society has taught us to. So let's just
Right.
unteach ourselves that and dive into something much more fun, enjoyable, fulfilling, and life
Right.
confusing,
And it
really.
kind of just goes back to the root cause of self-love and self-worth, that you are worth it. Right. That's
Exactly.
what it is. And that's my takeaway on our conversation here. I think that is so helpful what you're doing. Is there one last question? Is there one big lesson or takeaway that you've had to deal with during this COVID that we didn't mention? Is there one big thing?
Yeah. I had a huge takeaway, and that was that I need to slow down even more. Taking something out instead of adding something on is actually a much more self-loving thing to do. So I got rid of a lot of things that I'm no longer willing to tolerate. So
Awesome.
all that taught me that when I allow myself to have more time for me, more time for everything, more time for drinking my tea, more time for looking out of the window, I actually feel so much better. So that made me get rid of a lot of things that I don't really need. Time-wise, I don't need to do a lot of things. I just choose not to now.
Right. That's awesome. It helped you clarify your values, it sounds like, right?
Yes, because I did notice that my values have changed because I've had the same values for like 10 years. And then I checked in. Actually, I came up with a new exercise to really hone in on what was important for me now. And that is also part of the self-love activation course that I do. It is feeling in to your values, to a place where you're not deciding on them from your brain, but where you feel them.
I think that is such great advice. I mean, I want to come to France and go walking with you. I go have some tea. I'm serious.
Please bring
So
your dogs.
yeah, I'll bring my dogs. They'll blend in because they're Great Pyrenees. They're from the Pyrenean Mountains. I mean, not this, but that's where the breed's from. So
Yeah.
where can listeners learn more about you? What website can they go to?
They can just go to my one and only website, which is www.katrinehorn.com. So I'll spell that out for you, which is KATRINEHORN.com. And there are lots of freebies. They can get my self-love tips and tools, which is really about installing some habits into your life that will remind you of how worthy you are of love, of
Right.
unconditional love. They can take my femininity quiz to find out what their superpower is, what their feminine tool is in their feminine toolbox that they can really, really leverage to get some different results in their lives. And they can check out one of my courses, really.
No, that's awesome. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'll have a written summary of everything, and I'll have the link in there as well. And I really appreciate your time, Katrine, and it has been a pleasure to get to know you. And I will let you know when I'm in France again.
I can't wait for that, Bridget. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for listening to us. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.